Greetings, fellow Earthlings. Dave with And Another Thing with Dave. Coming at you with just kind of a brainstorm and a rant. I was just thinking about racial stereotypes, how they change from time to time, and how they fit the goals of society or, the moneyed classes at that time. So it's pretty much all about labor versus capital, right? The workers versus the moneyed interests. Inherited money families, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Koch brothers, the Walton family that owns Walmart, and on and on and on and on. The Bushes, now the Clintons, they've entered the ranks. And so you hear a lot about the 1%. It's really the top 10% in the United States, at least, that we're talking about. If you're talking globally, then it's the 1%. But I want to talk about these stereotypes, like the lazy N-word, right? Like, what a bass-ackwards stereotype. First of all, how could you be lazy if you're a slave with somebody watching over you, ready to beat you, whip you, shoot you, kill you, whatever, if you're not working hard enough and fast enough? I mean, come on. And we've all seen movies where they got a chain gang, right? And you're breaking rocks or whatever the hell you're doing, and you got a guy with a gun watching you, and he'll come up and smack you with the butt of the gun if you're not working hard enough or fast enough. So, and it's just ridiculous. So talk about the hardest working motherfuckers in the world. Worked to death, right? And our Mexican brothers get that stereotype as well. Like, oh, the lazy Mexican. Like, I'm in the trades, and you'll never, if you go on a construction job site, you'll never see anybody out working our Latino brothers. Nobody. Definitely no white dude is out working a Latino. And by outworking, I mean like outpacing, getting more done, working harder, working faster. It's not going to happen. Some of the most hardworking motherfuckers I've ever met in my life. It's almost like it's a machismo thing. Like they're going to prove they're stronger than you. And like, oh man, slow down, bro. You're making me look bad. Fuck. But anyways, I just want to touch on these stereotypes, and where they come from is they come from the moneyed classes, and it's part of this divide and conquer, division wedges that are wedged between the working class, and that's the key. We're all working class people. We have way more in common with each other, no matter what religion or color your skin or even gender, than we have in common with the top 10% in this country. How much do you have in common with George Bush, who got driven to school in a limousine? I don't know anything about that life. I know very well about having to go to a grocery store and try to get the most money, the most food for the amount of money I got. I know that one well. So I can relate to a lot of people's struggle in that regard when it comes to finances. So I'm watching this documentary right now, probably my favorite documentary of all time, and they've come out with part 2, 3, and 4 now. But it's called Plutocracy, and this is part 1, Divide and Rule. And it's amazing. It's breaking down how racism in the U.S. was created to pit the working classes against each other. And they got, I'm half Irish, and there's a whole history there of indentured slavery, 7 years of an indentured slavery, then you could earn your freedom. Same thing with Chinese people. They experienced indentured servitude. They would have to come to the U.S. and be somebody's servant for 7 years, and then they could earn their freedom after having documented that you did 7 years of slavery. Unfrickin' believable. I actually met a guy that worked on the BART tunnels in San Francisco. Amazing side story. and he told me that the BART tunnels took over existing human smuggling tunnels. So there was human trafficking tunnels to smuggle Chinese people into Chinatown from all the way from Ocean Beach. The tunnel went all the way down to Union Square, and it went up Powell Street into Chinatown, and then it would have offshoots and come up in people's basements and shit, and people would, he said there were whole living rooms. It was like an underground city, bars, hangout rooms, because people would have to be underground sometimes for weeks before their family that was, expecting them was ready to receive them for whatever reason. But cray. So there's always been that class of people that, fuck them, they're less than human, so we can work them to death, like the Chinese and the Irish on the railroads. I learned recently through this documentary series, I believe, that one Irishman died per every mile of track laid. For every mile of track, they lost an Irishman. The reason they were using Irishmen is because they were less valuable than ox. Because so you could lose a few patties, but, wouldn't cost you as much as if you lost an ox. Wow. And then the Chinese took it up and over the Sierras. So craziness there. And then I heard rumors, I don't know if there's any truth to it, but it was by an old Tahoe guy when I lived up there. And this guy was telling me that when it came time for payday, this one railroad boss, loaded all the Chinese workers on a barge, told them they're going to get paid down in South Lake, and then on gunpoint forced them off the barge at gunpoint in the middle of the lake. It's a huge lake. There's no way you could swim ashore. So apparently Jacques Cousteau's son was going to do an exploration and documentary on Lake Tahoe, because it's like, the deepest lake in this part of the world. And apparently he was dissuaded from doing so because, the mob used to hang out up there on the Nevada side. So there's probably a lot of people wearing cement boots, if you know what I'm saying. Oh! So there's a bunch of shit under there that people don't want seen. There's also there was an eclectic guy who had a safari with all kinds of African animals, and he was bringing over a barge with an elephant, and that flipped over in a storm. So there's a dead elephant down there. So who knows what you would find way down in the deep blue. But it's so cold that it preserves shit perfectly. So it would be fascinating to see. A couple of years ago, they found a diver that had disappeared in the 80s. And he was dead, obviously, but perfectly preserved. No decomposition or anything, because the water's so fucking cold. So that's amazing, right? So any bodies that have been dumped in there would just be chilling. That would be creepy, huh? A whole, forest of dead bodies wearing cement boots. Oh, that would be creepy. Swaying around with the water. All their hair blowing it, waving in the water like it's blowing in the wind. Oh, God. Oh, especially if the mob, dumped all the people in the same place. Oh, God, then it would be like that, all those clay soldiers in China. Oh, God, that'd be creepy. Anyway, I digress. Racial stereotypes. It's all bullshit. It's all control mechanism. It's all divide and conquer. And it's all coming from the fucking 10%, 1% from the elite that don't work and that profit off of our sweat, blood, and tears. So, fuck the man. Down with the man. And Black Lives Matter. So, yeah. Do some research. Check out this documentary Plutocracy, part 1, 2, 3, and 4. But part 1 is a great place to start. Plutocracy, Divide and Rule. Free on YouTube. Check it out. Anyway, thanks for listening. This has been Dave Smith with And Another Thing with Dave. And one more little side thing. So the reason I say greetings, fellow Earthlings, is inclusion, right? And to emphasize the fact that we're all together. We're all in this together, clinging to this rock that's hurling through space in a corkscrew pattern at hundreds of miles an hour, narrowly avoiding asteroids and meteors along the way. The sun happens to be a perfect distance away, so it's nice and comfortable here. We got this thing called gravity that keeps the water in the lakes and rivers and oceans, and so it doesn't fly off into space. So we're in this perfect little microcosm of time and space where everything is perfect for us to flourish. And we have these stupid little fucking things that we fight over. And it's usually the elite, the 10%, that have us fighting each other while they sit back and reap the rewards, and consolidate power and wealth. So, once again, fuck the man. And this has been Dave Smith with And Another Thing with Dave. Keep fighting, stay vigilant, do your research, watch Plutocracy, and share it with everybody you know. Peace out.